Hi everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to make wooden pumpkins. What I've got here is I've got just some random cuts of 2x4s. They're actually leftovers from my project prior. I've got a few of them, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble them in different ways to form pumpkins. What we're going to do with the wood is first I'm going to color it. I've got 3 fall colors here. I've got an orange, a terracotta, and a nutmeg. What I'm going to do is just dry brush the colors randomly on each of the slats just to give it a little bit more character. For the toppers, we're going to be using wine corks, which I have aplenty. What we're going to do is use these for the stems, and then we're going to also accent it with some raffia ribbon that I have here. What we'll be binding them with today is just some screws, all-purpose, any kind that you have. It doesn't require anything fancy. I believe these are 2.5-inch star tip, and then just my Black & Decker drill that I use for all of my crafts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get these all colored, and then when I finish that, we'll come back and I'll show you how to assemble. Okay, so as you can see, we've got all of our wood pieces painted. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to stack them to make a pumpkin shape. So you're going to obviously start with something a little bit smaller at the bottom, go bigger, and then come back up to a smaller piece. You can usually do this in 4 to 5 pieces. Some of them I can do in 3. We're just going to stack them with the number of blocks that I have and see what we get. Okay, and here is our first example of one of the wooden pumpkins. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish making the other pumpkin shapes with the wood I have available, and then we're going to attach them. Okay, so what I have here is I have one with 5, I've got one with 4, and then I've got a little one with 3.5. I had a little angled piece that I had cut off one of my boards, and I'm going to put it up there so it has a little tilt when I put the stem on. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to hook up the drill, and we're going to get these all screwed together. Alright, when putting together your pumpkins, make sure your screw is not going to eat through like the surface that you're working on. These are kind of perfect because they come just together at 2 of the pieces of wood. So what I'm going to do is take the top part off, and I'm going to screw 2 screws. You don't need any more than that. Just 2 screws to mount it to the base. You don't want to do 1 because you don't want to give it the opportunity to shift. So 2 will hold it pretty stable. Alright, now for the second one. Okay, the advice that I give to you guys is when you add the next layer, remember where you put the screws for the first one. That way you're not trying to put the screws overlapping one on the other. So I have my 2 screws right here. Now I'm going to go right here on the front and the back with the screws. Alright, and our next one. Now if you remember, the first screws that I put were right here and right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse them. And the bonus about using the 2x4s is every 2 layers down, the screws have a less chance of sitting next to each other because of the thickness of the wood. Alright, and the last piece on top. Okay, and here is your pumpkin form. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble the rest of them, and as soon as I finish that, we will apply the corks and the raffia ribbon. Alright, we have screwed together all of our pumpkins. They're ready to go. What we're going to do next is I took 3 wine corks and I screwed one of the screws into the middle. Now when it comes to these being the stems of the pumpkins, you can apply them with all-purpose adhesive, hot glue, just depending on where you want to use them. I think these are going to be an outside element to my front yard during the fall season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw them in. And how I did that is I took the cork and I ran the screw till it just started coming out of the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line this up with the top of my pumpkin and I'm going to screw it in. And once I have that done, I'll come back and I'll show you what to do for the finishing touches. Okay, now we have all of the cork stems on top of our wooden pumpkins. Get a good look at that. It turned out really cute. I'm really excited. What we're going to do for one of our finishing touches is get some of the raffia ribbon. You can get this at any craft store. You can get it at your big box stores. And we're going to take a couple strands and layer them together. And then what you're going to want to do is you're just simply going to want to put a wrap the raffia around the stem of the pumpkin, and if you squeeze it a little tight, it'll get snug underneath where the cork is, and that should secure it just fine. And then secure it with a simple knot and you'll be ready to go. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a little bit more of a close-up view on how to do the pumpkin, the raffia ribbon on it, just so you have a better view of it. I know from the angle that I was at, it wasn't really too well. So what you're going to do is just wrap it back and forth a couple times, and like I said, you give it a little bit of a tug. Some of those threads are going to travel underneath the cork. What you're going to do is then just knot it. You can put a bow on it if you like. You can leave it loose. It's really just your preference. I usually like to do a bow and just flare it out. Simple bow, and you can add a dab of hot glue if you want to secure the knot. You can leave it, you can fray it out. I like to pull little long pieces, just give it a, you know, look like it's been around for a while. And there you go. Alright, so we're almost done with the project, and the last thing that I like to do is to add a little bit of a fun element to these jack-o'-lanterns, or these pumpkins rather. What I like to do is on the reverse side, you can pick either side, whichever, just take a little bit of black craft paint and paint a jack-o'-lantern on one side of them. That way they pull double duty for Halloween, and then once Halloween's over, you can just flip them back around on your mantle, porch, wherever you may have them, and they're ready for the rest of the fall season. So I'm gonna paint a jack-o'-lantern face on this, and as soon as I'm done, I'll show you what the final product looks like. Okay, here we go. These are the final projects. As you can see, I painted a jack-o'-lantern face on one side of the pumpkins, and they'll be great and a great addition to any of your Halloween decor. And then once Halloween is finished, you simply just flip these little babies around and you are ready to finish out the fall season with some really rustic and adorable pumpkins that were practically free to make. Again, it was just wine corks, which I know most of us have on hand. some scraps of wood from other projects I had done. I just screwed them together, and then some raffia ribbon. I mean, this cost me $0 to make just because I had the stuff on hand. And even if you don't, this project is not expensive. One 2x4 will get you more than enough pieces of wood to use for the pumpkin forms, and a bag of raffia ribbon is anywhere from like $5 to $6. So again, really cheap, really easy to do, and I think it makes a great impact to anybody's home decor. So thank you for watching. I really hope you guys give this a try. If you do, please share with me. I'd love to hear from you about it. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me as well. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.